Okay, we're still in Sermon on the Mount, and we're ready for the very last verse of chapter 6. And you know, Jesus didn't think and talk and with chapters and verses in his mind. He thought and talked a lot the way we do. And I have never thought about a chapter and verse. I'm very grateful that the Bible has been divided into chapters and verses so that I can a lot more easily identify where to find what Jesus said. And here we are. Okay, last verse, verse 34. I spent a long time going on and on and on about verse 33. I think of it as a capstone, maybe not the capstone, but it's certainly one of the capstones of the whole gospel message when he said, but in verse 33, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you as well. That's almost like the drawstring, okay? Talking about my worry and God's provision, but he's not quite done. In verse 34, he says, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. All right, let's start with therefore. Remember how I do that? We got to figure out what that is there for. Well, you go back up what we have as a couple of verses where Jesus is talking about the common human worries of what will I eat, what will I drink, and what will I wear. We're talking about the daily necessities of life. And he says, your Heavenly Father knows you need these things. Okay, because of that, because our Heavenly Father knows we need these daily necessities, we should be able to let ourselves turn loose of that being our first concern, so that our first concern can be seeking, intentionally looking for his righteousness, his kingdom and his righteousness. And when we do that, all these things will be added to us as well. Big idea. The big idea is God already knows what you need, and he's going to take care of you. Then Jesus, I think, I tend to see a little bit of humor in things that Jesus often said, and I kind of see it in this when he says, therefore, because of that, do not worry about tomorrow. There's no need. For tomorrow will worry about itself. What I get from that is, hey, you don't need to worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will do all that on its own. And then he goes on, each day has enough trouble of its own. I think when I worry about tomorrow, I am borrowing trouble from tomorrow and drawing it into today. Think about this. How much do you really know about tomorrow? Well, I can tell you the answer to that is less than you think you do. I know this from my own personal experience. On January 9th of 2011, when I went to bed, my plan for the next day was really good. My plan for the next day was we were with our friends Danny and Anita Hinkle. We were going to get up on the 10th. That was a Monday, and we didn't have to be any big rush, but we were going to go to a gorgeous, beautiful resort golf course way out east of Phoenix, east of Fountain Hills, called Wecopa on Indian Reservation, and play it for free with two of Danny's friends. The day was beautiful. I mean, it was a Chamber of Commerce day to advertise. This is how Phoenix is. We got to the course, had lunch. Can't even remember, but I think we hit a few range balls and then began our round. My plan was we were going to go do that, and then when we were finished, on the way home, we were going to stop at Costco, and Danny was going to buy a big screen TV, because that night was the NCAA college football championship game, and we were going to sit down in the family room and just enjoy hanging out as I'm with my best bud, and we were watching football, which we both love to do. I couldn't have picked a better day. I mean, that was a great scenario, and Debbie was there to enjoy it and hang out with us, and couldn't have been better. Well, except for what happened. I don't know, it must have been along about hole 7. I had to walk up a little incline to get to the green, and I felt this deep burning in my chest. Like, if you grew up in the Midwest, you know what I'm talking about. Remember in wintertime, at recess, you go out and you just run and run, and your chest would kind of burn. Well, it was like that, only it was deeper. And I couldn't identify where did that come from? It wasn't like heartburn. And then it went away. And I thought, oh, okay. I had been playing very poorly, and I don't even remember finishing the holes 7, 8, and 9. But by the time we got to the 9th hole, I felt horrible. I thought I was getting the flu, but I didn't have energy to get out of the cart on the 10th tee. And Danny looked at me and said, "Oh, well, I think we're done." And we got back to my little car that we had driven out, and Danny got me into the passenger seat, and he climbed in the driver's seat, and off we went. And I just felt, I thought, I think I've just got the flu. If just take me home, I'll, take a shower and lay down, and I think I'll be okay. I mean, I'd felt crummy before. So, okay, but as we passed the Mayo Clinic, this is a little farther south in Scottsdale than the one up off the 101. But anyway, Danny said, "Hey, I can take you in here and get you checked out." And I think he was kind of half joking, and I said, "No, come on, let's just go on." I leaned back, and that's the last I remember. And what Danny has filled in the blanks for me is that at 118th and Shea, just before, he realized I wasn't breathing anymore. My eyes had rolled back in my head. He started pounding on my chest and praying. At 118th and Shea, he pulled over on 118th. He jumped out of the car, dialed 911, and began giving me chest compression. I think it's not coincidental. I think it was a grace gift from God that Danny had a week before had a conversation with his daughter, who's a dental hygienist, who that week had done a refresher course on CPR, in which they were taught you no longer do mouth to mouth. It's all chest compression to the rhythm of the Bee Gees song, ah, 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 staying alive, staying alive. And so he climbed on top of me and he began that, ah, ah, ah. Well, the 911 operator then, of course, called out for EMTs. In 3 minutes, EMTs arrived. They pulled me out of the car and began doing their thing. They hit me with the paddles a couple of times before there was any heartbeat, and then they had to hit me again, and then they got me in the ambulance and they had to hit me again there, and they got me. Oh, by the way, we were like about 4 blocks or 8 blocks from the Scottsdale Healthcare facility, which is a very wonderful hospital that has one of the leading cardiac care units in the country. They got me into the emergency room. I coded again, but they got me back. I don't remember any of that. Not a thing. I do have a dim memory of the ER docs kind of banter with me and conversation, and me telling them that I'd been playing golf and I played horrible, and somehow I think they told me I'd had a heart attack. So okay, but the first thing I have a vivid memory of was they were wheeling me from the ER to the cath lab, and I saw Debbie and Danny and Anita, and I thought, first of all, she was the prettiest girl I'd ever seen in my life. And then I thought, oh crap, she doesn't know where our insurance papers are. Well, as a front end of the story, they did an angioplasty and then placed a stent, and I spent a couple of nights in the hospital and then spent, 4 weeks, I think, with our dear friends Larry and Linda Poole, who God had provided. They lived about a mile from Scottsdale Healthcare out in Fountain Hills, and they were thrilled to be able to help. I had no idea that was going to happen. That did not fit with my plans for January 10th of 2011. Each day has enough trouble of its own. You don't need to be borrowing ahead of time with worry. How do you not do that? Well, one of the ways is to notice when you are worrying about tomorrow and remind yourself, whoa. I'm going to deal with today. Does that mean don't make any plans? Jesus didn't say that. I think what he was saying is don't let your worry about tomorrow keep you from harvesting the good of today. And doesn't that often happen? Does it with me. Well, take no thought for tomorrow. Because tomorrow, well, it will take thought for itself. Each day has enough trouble on its own. So what if we intentionally lived today, in this moment? I'll see you next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.